Yeah, so the topic that we were discussing then was the topic that I call win the fight, lose the marriage. We actually discussed it in our previous episode. It's like a parody on an existing well-known topic or
The topic of
whatever it is, like a line that says, very famous line of win the battle, lose the war, right? It's a real topic. It's a real concept. I like using win the fight, lose the marriage because it's more personal to people. Most people are not in wars, right? They're not fighting wars. They're not soldiers. So it has a little bit less meaning. Whereas like win the fight, lose the marriage could hit home more for people. So I like that. I didn't make that up. That I've heard that from like Laser Brody.
You didn't make it up. You didn't make it up. No. But I want to tell you about the way you said it. So you said win the battle and lose the marriage.
Win the fight. Yeah, win the fight, lose the marriage.
So I had this conversation with someone, right? And the way that other person perceived it, took it, understood it, right? Was more like, wait, I don't understand. So you're saying I'm going to lose the argument. I'll be like, you know what? You're right, honey. You're right. So I can win the marriage. Is a little bit, I would say, I feel like some people won't understand. It's more like for women, that sounds more like, whatever you say, honey, you're right. Don't worry about it. Win the marriage. Really, this line, this phrase is more, this is why I don't want to use it by marriage. You understand? It has a little bit more of, it's cryptic. It's more like, whatever you say. Don't worry about it. Oh, really? You want to do this instead of that? Fine, let's do that. And then I'll win the marriage and we'll have a good marriage, you know? The sake of argument, in marriage, I feel like it's not the right thing. You don't want to use that in marriage.
Right.
Where I would use this. I feel like you get it.
Yeah, no, I understand the concern that you're raising, but this is not something you use in a marriage. This is like an idea that you can learn a lot of lessons out of and apply it to every part of your life. And that's what we're going to get into, right? I'm not using this in my marriage. We're describing this phrase or this phenomenon in different ways so that it could relate to different people in different situations.
So you can understand it and relate to it is what you're saying.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is, so we actually touched on it a little bit in our last episode, but we didn't get into the crux of it because it wasn't the subject matter. And I think it deserves a whole topic of its own because there's a way to unpack it in a meaningful way that kind of has more dimension to it. So I'm going to go into some of my ideas and some more on the personal side of it. And then we could also explore if you looked into any of the historical aspects of it, because there is real philosophy behind it. One of the first things that I was thinking with regards to this idea, I came up with the term modular thinking. It's a form of thinking. Why modular thinking? Think of, modular homes, where you're building, it's like Lego blocks, right? When kids are building Lego blocks or modular homes, there's no right or wrong way to build. It's just an expression of creativity, and every way you build yields...
There's a wrong way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it.
What? When you're building Legos?
I'm saying, when you're building Legos, there's a wrong way to do it. You can really, really mess it up real quick. But go ahead, make your point. I was just, no.
Meaning it'll collapse. But no, I mean like the expression of something like that, Legos or modular building, is not right or wrong. It's more an expression of art and creativity. Each way does yield different results and has different consequences, right? If you build a home up and then to the right, you might have some structural issues, right? It could collapse. But it's not right or wrong per se. It's just a matter of like expression.
It's the way you do it.
Right. A matter of expression and creativity. So when I think of the concept of win the fight, lose the marriage, or win the battle, lose the war, I think of it as just like a intellectual utility that we use when we approach anything in life, certain things in life, that isn't necessarily right or wrong, because we will get into the philosophy of it. It's more about which result is it going to yield if you take route A over route B? I'll give you an example. Let's apply it to business for a second.
Right. I was going to bring that up.
In business, you have this all the time where you're in conversation with partners or colleagues or people you're doing deals with, or you're dealing with business complexities. You're trying to solve stuff in business, and there's a disagreement on which way to go. And any way you suggest will have pros and cons to it, right?
Right.
So one way isn't necessarily right. The other way is not necessarily wrong.
Wrong.
It's the same. That's the idea of modular thinking, where we escape the clutches, the shackles of principled thinking, even though principle has its own utilities. And we kind of graduate to more modular thinking, weighing the pros and cons of the outcome of our decisions and figuring out which ones we want to go with, maybe which ones will yield results in the areas that you want, which ones are more meaningful, so on and so forth. Very interesting concepts.
Right. It's a broader way of looking at things. It's more like having it's more like having seeing the image right in front of you and making it's a way of decision making also. Thinking of when it comes in business, right? How are we going to approach this? Is this important enough for us to win so we can get whatever, right? Get whatever we want out of this, but the results might not be, in the long term, might not be what we want. So it's a way of, it's a broader way of looking at it,
Yeah.
A way of making decisions in business and just in personal life too. It's where they used to use this, this comes from was in war, right? Back in the days, and in the article, they were talking about when in war, the two countries or kingdoms that fought against each other. One of the kings that was, I guess, like years ago, I forgot which one it was. One of the kings had to win this battle. He did everything he could to win this battle against this other kingdom. He did so much that he lost the war. And not that he lost the war, he walked away with winning the battle, which is technically like winning the war. But in this case, it means he lost everything. He lost all of his soldiers, his army, his everything was gone.
Right.
Even his allies left him. That means losing the war. He technically lost the war.
That's like the punchline of this concept. It's like you invested so much into winning the battle, right? You lost, and as a consequence, you lost 3/4 of your army, all your allies, and everything else.
Right, but that doesn't mean he didn't. He technically won the war. That's what I'm. That's what I'm trying to make.
He won the physical fight, but he
won
lost
the physical
so
fight.
much
So that's
in the process.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So that's the battle. The battle is the war, but then the war. What we're talking about is the overall gain from this, which is nothing. You walked away losing the ultimate war. Better said, right? The ultimate war. You walked away, and there's nothing left.
Right. That's the historical significance. I take that concept and I apply it to everyday life.
And tell me.
And in everything we do, this is why I said, it's important to unpack it from the reverse. What's the opposite of this concept in practical terms? The opposite is being too principled, too black and white, too rigid, too firm. How so? For example, when you apply it, let's say, to marriage, and you're having an argument, a disagreement, and you have your conviction that you're right, your spouse is wrong, and you pursue your truth, without any recourse or without any boundaries, that might lead, exactly like you described historically, to you losing your marriage in the worst case scenario. But there are many steps in between losing a marriage that are equally painful and really negative in your pursuit of truth. So if you want to look at the reverse of it, the reverse of not being open-minded and thinking in a modular way, in an unbiased way, in a different way, in a creative way, the opposite of that is sticking to your guns. You win the argument, potentially, the disagreement, but what do you lose in the process?
Everything. The war. The ultimate war.
And if you remember, on the other episode, we were talking about this notion of pursuing truth, following your principles. And this is
I don't think that was was it on the podcast?
Yeah.
I feel like that was a private conversation we had about values.
Yeah, and this type of thinking comes in a certain sense to challenge that. All right? This comes in and says, is it right, and I shouldn't say right, is it beneficial?
Is it beneficial to do what?
To pursue truth and your principles and values without any regard for the consequences and outcome.
So that's podcast 2.0. So that's the part 2 to it.
That's this.
Is it though? Is it? Right. So we touched on that, on values and where we, but I guess it's the same thing. It's not the same thing, but it's in the same conversation. How much do you want to win the battle? If it's your truth, if it's your values, where do we say it's not the battle that I want to win the war, whatever. So this is an interesting concept,
Yeah, it's tuning in.
How far do we go?
That's why I say it's tuning into what is more meaningful. Right.
But it's like, I think about this. How many people? I mean, there is no number to it, but how many people don't even think about these things? When it comes to an argument, it comes to a fight, it comes to business, you just make a decision based on what your gut, what your emotion at that moment wants, right? There's like so many companies that make decisions based on the competition. Not because they have a goal and they want to build a huge company. They have a dream. They know where they need to be in 50 years from now. Most companies wouldn't even do that. Most companies will build something based off their competition. Like, for example, a restaurant, right? I have a restaurant. I serve food to people. Then there's another place that opens across the street. Okay?
Right.
And they started selling stuff, and it's good too, and people go there. I lose my goddamn mind. What? People are going across the street? I can't allow this. Let me come up with something better. Let me start selling alcohol. Let me start selling better meat, better chef. Do you see what I just did? What I did was, I didn't have a goal. My goal was to be better than my competition. That's it. So, right? So the point is that it's not your decision that you made, the decision that I made is just to beat my guy across the street. That's it. There is no goal. There is no, there's nothing. Once I beat the competition, I sit comfortable, and eventually I'll drop again because I'm just, my competition is what makes me go. This is what people always say, competition is what makes you, right? It is, but it's not. It just keeps you from making stupid decisions, but ultimately you don't have a plan. Because if you're waiting for your competition to wake you up, you don't have a plan. I watched this video of this guy, Simon Sinek. I told you about him. He's a great speaker, okay? Check him out. Amazing speaker. So he was talking about that he went to a Microsoft convention. And he was giving a speech, right? So after the speech, he went over after the speech, he got a new product from Microsoft years ago, okay? They gave him some kind of phone or whatever, a tablet, right? 20 years ago when they started with the tablets. Forgot what the name was. And fine. He looked at it. He was happy. Amazing tablet. Good for him. He walked out excited. So anyway, a few weeks later, there was another convention that was an Apple convention, right? And he was giving a speech about Apple. After the speech, he went over to one of the CEOs, one of the big people in Apple. And he told him, by the way, Steve, not Steve Jobs, Steve, right? Some other Steve. Steve, I got this tablet from Microsoft. Let me tell you something. This tablet is something special, right? It's an amazing tablet. The CEO says to him, I bet it is. I bet it, that's it. He was like, what, you don't want to know what it looks like? Nope. I bet it is. Here was the difference. The difference is when he told Microsoft that he was at a Apple convention and he looked at all the iPads coming out and all this stuff, right? This is what they wanted to know. How does it look? How great is it? Tell me about it. I need to know about it. That was the difference in the two companies. One company needed to know what Apple was doing because we have to come out with a tablet that is better than Apple. But that's it. That is better than Apple. Once I'm better than Apple, I'm right there. I made it. Apple's goal is not to be better than Microsoft. Apple's goal is to be 50, 60 years from now, down the line, the biggest tech company in the world. Tell me where they're now. Where are they now? Still on top.
Interesting. Especially because it's a real story.
Check him out. Great guy. Check him out. He's amazing.
He's good. Not to insinuate that Apple is more intellectual than Microsoft, but
there you go. Come on. Come out with it. Let's go. Come on. Give me everything.
To your original point, which is that, how humans actually are. I would say like this, modular thinking, I'm just going to adapt that term. That's what it is from here on out.
You love that term, don't you? You love that term,
I made it myself.
I had a feeling about this. I was trying to Google it. Google is like, I'm sorry, we can't find this word. Maybe go somewhere else. Go to Microsoft.
So modular thinking is a utility for intellectualism. So yeah, your average person is not gonna think and react in these terms. To be a real intellectual thinker requires hard work. Mm-hmm. With that being said, I guess Apple falls into that category. But my point is, with hard work, we learn to think this way. You just put
yourself in the category of Apple, didn't you?
I hate that I said that because I'm not
you don't hate it.
I'm not an Apple fan.
I know.
But by my own logic, I have to, be honest, right?
But you know what they're doing. You know what it's like. Exactly. So I'm recording off an Apple laptop, and you are off, I'm guessing.
PC, yeah, Microsoft.
PC computer, Microsoft computer.
Yeah, so it's like an intellectual utility. Intellectuals will think in this capacity. Your average person won't. And somebody who's striving to be more of an intellectual thinker will adapt some of these methods of thinking. It's certainly not like, your everyday thought process. I actually have a story.
Stories. Tell me a story.
A personal story that I think could illustrate it a little bit. Illustrate the notion that this concept is not right or wrong. It's more about
what concept?
The idea of modular thinking, thinking through a concept in terms of win the fight, lose the marriage, instead of staying according to principle.
But it's definitely not right or wrong. It's a certain way of thinking. It's a certain way of seeing things. I don't know if there's a right or wrong in this.
Exactly. What I'm essentially proposing is that to think in such regards is to move away from right and wrong and move into what is meaningful and what kind of outcome am I looking for, right? Right and wrong might tell us to do something or not do something. Modular thinking tells us, let me weigh both outcomes. Which one is more meaningful to me? So you kind of tune into things on a different type of capacity. It's not so rigid and principled. It's more about, what do I want the outcome to be?
Okay.
I had, in one of my earlier episodes, I actually discussed this, where I was running from the, oh, no, not this story. That was something else. I had this incident with a state trooper. I think I also mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the state trooper pulls up beside me and he's mouthing off, and I start mouthing off back to him. Right? Now, he peels away. I peel behind him, two hotheads going at it. So then he comes out of the car.
That wasn't one of your better moments. You know that, right?
So here's what's interesting about this. My principle is that I won't be bullied. So I don't care if you're a state trooper or anyone. You come up on side of me and you're cursing and yelling and screaming, I'll just curse back. I don't care what you are. I don't care what the consequences are. Because that's my principle. That's my truth. And I think about this. So there's no hesitation. I rolled the window down.
How far are you going to go with it?
I start yelling back. So next thing you know, we're pulled over on the side and he comes to the car and he's yelling and I'm yelling back and all that stuff, right? Now, if you want to hear that story, it's on a previous episode. But the point is, that was my principle. I won't be bullied. So I'll stand up to a bully. And in this case, it was a state trooper. So I stood up to him. The outcome of that was he wrote me up a ticket, and then they wanted me to go to court, of course. I hired a lawyer who took care of it. I wrote a letter to the judge. I also sent in a formal complaint, sat with the captain, all that. So I dealt with it. I didn't go to court. It was completely dismissed. The lawyer took care of it. So I may have spent $500 and a letter on the process. Right. Speaking to one of our close friends, he says, is it worth it? Why can't you just, say I'm sorry, bow your head and look the other way? Then you would have saved $500. Because to me, as a matter of principle, I don't care about the money. I care about right and wrong. For him, he cares about the money, doesn't care about the principle.
No.
There is no right and wrong in a scenario like this. What is more meaningful to you? Is it more meaningful to stand your ground and have the consequence of potentially going to court, losing, spending thousands of dollars? Who knows what it could turn into? In everyone's situation in life, it's different. There is no right and wrong on the topic itself. You have your truths, but your truth might end up costing you a couple grand. Your truth could cost you.
There might be a right or wrong, though, because for you, what's right or wrong for you in this particular in this moment. So it depends on what the story is. It depends on what this is about. There could be a right or wrong. For you, it was the right thing to stand up for yourself and not let someone bully you. That was the right thing to do. Maybe someone else could have looked at it and said, I don't think that was the right thing to do. I think that wasn't the right thing. So, by you doing
I'm not getting into the semantics of what individual people would think. I'm going outside of the entire scenario and saying, regardless of what you would say is right or wrong,
that was your right. Right, but it was your right thing.
I'm saying look at the outcome. Take it into relationships. This might be more, might resonate more. In relationships, we have to look much deeper than pursuing truth and principle or being right. You have to look at, for example, what the damage will be pursuing the truth, what pain you're going to cause.
See, but that's the problem, though. See, what pain, if you're seeking your truth and that might cause other people pain, I don't think that you should stop seeking the truth. It's like if you I hate this topic because this is such a complicated topic, but if, let's say, talk about someone that feels some type of way, I feel like I'm a woman, or I feel
a good
like
topic. I love how you're struggling with it, because that shows you how good it is.
This is why I hate this topic, because it's a very fragile topic. I mean, especially right nowadays with all the what's going on right now. My opinion is on this some people might not understand it, and it doesn't matter what my opinion on this is. I'm just trying to make a point, right? The point is that if you feel something and you feel like maybe you're not who you are, you're not a man or you're not a woman, you feel like you're something else. You're married, you have kids. What would you say the right thing is to do? Don't pursue it. Don't try to find out what these feelings are. You might hurt your wife, you might hurt your partner, you might hurt your kids, mess up a whole family, but at the same time, find your truth. Find what's been pushing you, bothering you. So this is why I don't want to bring this topic up, because
no, but you're giving an example of something.
Right. It can go in so deep, right? But
no, absolutely. Sometimes pursuing your truth, regardless of outcome, is if you make a calculation like this on a hard topic like that, right. it might be worth it for you. For me, it was worth it to stand up to the cop and pay $500. I don't regret spending the $500.
No,
what
definitely
happens
not.
if it would have costed me $10,000?
I was just gonna say, what happens then?
Then I probably
tell me what happens.
Then I probably would regret it.
But that's your truth.
That's my point.
How important is it?
Right. It's about weighing the outcomes over other things. So, for example, you said before, because what I'm proposing is that the standard way of thinking is kind of like what you're saying. We were taught, follow your truths, right? I'm saying, let's bring in another element, another dynamic to this. There might be another way to look at stuff. We don't just follow truths. I learned that in business. I learned that in relationships. Why? Because in the process of following truth, let's say in a relationship, you're not necessarily hurting other people by you following your truth. You're often hurting yourself over and over and over again.
But maybe it's not pursuing it. Let's put it this way. Maybe it's not pursuing it or following it completely, but I feel like what's important is standing up for it. So let's talk about your example, right? Standing up for what you believe is, not letting someone bully you. So the cop came over to you, he was bullying you, you bullied him back. That's it. That's what standing up for the truth means, right? Now, following up with sending the letter and trying to get this guy in trouble, the officer, all that's something you didn't need to do. You didn't need to do. What you did was stand up, and you stood up for what you believe. You stood up for what needs to be, for what you think is right. But then there's the follow-up. Then there is pursuing it. Maybe we don't always need to pursue what we believe is the right thing, but we need to stand up for it. Say, look, this is my opinion. This is what I believe. This, So maybe you don't have to. I shouldn't say it. Fuck it.
Yeah, no, that's a good separation between the actions, because there is a difference between, even in a relationship, you speak your truth, but you don't pursue it vehemently until everyone gets destroyed.
Exactly, because then that's when you start thinking about your family, your kids. There's a lot of variables. There's a lot of things that come into play, and you have to measure what that will do to you, right? Because now that might affect and hurt some of your other values that you have, right? So you don't want to, because you want to follow this, and then all of a sudden all your other values, which is family, which is wife, which is kids, which is whatever, will get hurt or will break down. And so
the consequences of, I guess, what I'm describing are more on the side of the pursuit. I'm a huge fan of integrity, honest, open expression. So sure, you're in a relationship, you're dealing with business or whatever type of relationship.
It's important.
They're going to know, they should know your opinion and all that stuff. I have this all the time in business. I speak my opinion, and I'll go any other way, because sometimes I don't make the decisions at the end of the day, depending on the entity I'm dealing with. But I still let my decision be known. Pursuing it, as you call it, without any regard, is often where things break down, and there's a lot of negative consequences. So yeah, that's a good distinction.
Right.
But it's not this whole idea is not something to be overwhelmed by or anything. I think it's just the opposite. It should be thought of as a light intellectual utility, that there's more, what are they called? Dimensions to figuring things out in life. It's not always just right and wrong, black and white, up or down.
It's never just that. It's never you. There's no way you can. And I know it because I was like that. At least the black and white, the way like seeing things black and white is just impossible. And I know a lot of people are in business black and white. It's either this or that. Well, it's not though. And it has to be more than that. There's always the, where when it comes to systems and businesses and things that you implement and all that, there's always this where you find out where there's outside the box, color outside the box. There's another color. There's more than just black and white.
In business,
a lot
it's
of people
huge. It blew up. I could guarantee you the word agile, which essentially denotes the notion of being able to be more fluid. I guarantee you that if Google had, it probably blew up, especially in the business world, the use of that word and the notion of that philosophy of being agile and not being rigid and straight. Absolutely.
You have to. I mean, in every way, in your personal life and whatever it is, you have to be. There isn't just black and white. Plus, black and white is depressing. Imagine it's just black and white. How depressing is that? Just the black and white, nasty, witch colors. That's not what we want. We come from black and white, isn't that?
Yeah,
isn't that where we come from?
Yeah.
We come from black and white.
It may also have to do with age. I'm thinking, we're approaching our 30s.
Which is what? We like more colors?
Yeah, no, I feel like, I think it might be a younger thing. When you're younger, you think things will be solved. The world is, and things will be solved with kind of straightforward. And then it starts becoming very complicated as you start reaching a certain age. And then you're like, oh.
As you start learning what life is about, I think that's when you start seeing
like,
that it's not just that.
There's no solution. Right. There's no solution to this. There isn't
always a solution to the black. There's no always white to the black. There's no always, it's just not there. And by the way, guys, chill out. When we talk about black and white, we're not talking about race. It's not the conversation we're having right now. Yeah. The cancel culture is big time right now. Yeah. So we're not. Oh my God, you said
black. Fuck off.
They said,
hey,
and then
try not to curse. Don't even get me started.
I'm trying not to curse, and I'm trying not to get involved in any of that. I want people to be able to just get away from all that. Let's have a good listen to something nice, enjoy a good conversation. That's it. All that, all the above, leave it for whoever to talk about.
Well, you just said ties into it nicely. It ties into it really nice. There isn't always a truth. And if that's one principle you could take away from this, there isn't always an answer. Let alone a truthful answer. There isn't always an answer, period. There's just weighing consequences.
But talk about how people struggle with that, huh? Talk about when you want the answer before the answer is even ready to be there, right? When this goes into the unknown, we go into unknowns, right? We open a business, the unknown. We don't know if we're going to be successful. We go into a relationship, unknown. We don't know. We want the answer. We want to know, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be successful in this business? Am I going to like this girl?
Right.
And then you just don't know. And then when you don't get the answer, we get very
bug out.
Yeah. Restless.
It's like we forget.
Get anxious. We need to know.
Yeah.
What's the outcome gonna be? But the thing is, we don't know. We don't have the answers. The answers might come, might follow up, but we don't have the answers. And you just gotta suck it up and sit with it.
We forget that the journey to those answers are what it's all about, right? And
man, tell that to someone. Tell that to people.
Preach,
that's
baby,
the hardest.
preach.
But that's the hardest thing, right? That's the hardest thing.
When you're tuned in, you feel it, but I think everyone has some people never tuned in to begin with, but even people who are tuned in, the struggle is real, right? So you kind of
because
tune
you
in
have
and
to
out.
do it. Yeah, you have to do the work. This is what it comes down to.
Appalachian Trail, baby. You got to climb that mountain.
Oh my God. How many
One
times do you
in front of the other?
How many times do we look at each other and we're like, do we have to do this right now? Is there any way we can tent out right here?
perfect
in the middle of the
analogy.
street. It's like in the middle of an alley or something. No, we have to. But like, yeah, exactly like that. You just have to put your foot forward and just go. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. You don't know anything. That's it. People that do the Appalachian Trail are people that are willing to risk it. They are willing to risk the unknown.
That's the unknown.
The perfect example.
That's what I'm saying. It's a good analogy because
So then, right, they're not weirdos. These people are not weirdos. They might stink because you don't shower for a week straight, but those are not weirdos. Those are people that are willing to explore and feel the unknown.
yeah, no, those are
The
very
shit that
very
we're afraid of.
focused people.
Not very focused people, are they?
No, they're very focused people.
Well, right. So they're focused, right? But they don't have a plan, really.
No, but that is the plan. See, it's like the person that goes into business and loses focus that it's all about the journey, versus the person in business that understands it's all about the journey and he loves the grind and the pain.
Love the journey.
That's the guy on the Appalachian Trail. He understands that the journey is the pain. It's
The journey is the pain.
It's the 12th, the 15th, the 17th mile when it really hurts.
Because if your goal is to finish, I don't think you're gonna make it. If you go there because you want to finish already, you're not gonna make it. It's like you said, you have to, enjoy the you have to literally enjoy the pain, enjoy the walking, enjoy the climb. Fuck, it's so hard.
What's that dude's name?
So hard.
My brother sent me a video of him, Goggins,
Of an
right?
Appalachian guy?
So that little
Who's that?
Goggins.
David
Goggins.
Goggins. What a guy.
So
What
there's
a
this tiny
goddamn
clip
guy.
on YouTube where he's running, right? And he's saying in the army at the end of the run when there's like 2
Right.
miles left or whatever and
He's such an idiot.
and they're telling them there's only a mile or 2 left and like all the soldiers are getting happy. That's when he I forget exactly what he said, but like
He tells
in his
them-
mind that he's just getting started then, right? He's just getting started to go another however long mindset.
Yeah. He curses a lot, right? So I'm trying not to curse all the words right now, but
I know.
he has this way of treating you like shit. Like he'll say to you like, fuck you, you motherfucker. Go out and run, you bitch. And he's yelling at you. And then what initially happens to you is you feel like shit. You feel like a loser. And you actually go out and go for a run. It worked. It fucking worked. But I don't like this way of motivating you because it's shaming. It's making you feel like shit to get better. Why would I have to make you feel like shit and then to raise you and then to lift you up?
Okay. I would say that it's his form of motivation. There are different types.
It's his form because it works for him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
he's-
But it also works for a lot of people. It's like the difference
It
between
works. I didn't say it doesn't work.
it's like imagine listening to Eric Thomas over somebody who speaks nice and respectfully, different different strokes for different folks. You know what I'm saying? Some people need to be beat
you wake
the
up
F
now. Right. You wake up now. You go to the gym. You
Right.
can do it.
Yeah.
No, I fucking
Words of
can't. What are you
affirmation.
talking about? You don't even know.
You are beautiful. You are sexy. You know what I mean, some people need that. Some
No
people
one ever got. No one ever is like, you know what? I am sexy. Let me go to the gym and start sweating balls because that's what I'm missing. That's what I need in my life. If it's just the opposite. If I tell you you're good, you're sexy, you're fine, I ain't going nowhere. What do you mean? I feel good. You just told me that I'm good. Why would I have to do anything else?
you will get through this. You
Yeah.
won't lose your job.
Yeah, well,
Some
try not
people
to go to work tomorrow and see if
Pull
you
out
don't
the
lose
9
your job.
millimeter listening to that.
Yeah, you try not to, exactly. You won't lose your job. Well, I'll tell you what. Continue doing what you're doing, you'll lose everything.
According to
Right.
the law
So
of
this is why-
attraction, the rules of the law of attraction, you don't focus on the don'ts. You only focus on the do's because the attraction just happens on the thing itself. So, right, you wouldn't say, you won't lose your job. You would say, I love my job. Oh, that's funny stuff. I have an idea for an episode
Yalla.
because there's so much negativity out there on, this like cliche coverage of news, but just about even in social conversation, the world is obsessed with our generation, right? Everything we're getting wrong, everything we're screwing up and all that stuff. What about the notion, what about the idea of, say, we dedicate an episode to talking about all the things we got right and all the things we're doing right, meaning from history to now, like what we've come to, what we've achieved in the positive light. The notion of focusing on the gratitude and the positive over the negative.
That's a very good point, and I like that. I want to talk about. I don't want to motivate people, but I want people to, and myself. Let's put it this way: I want to look at myself and yourself and look at the things that are going right. Like you said, I feel like I'm not your motivator. Do whatever you want. Figure it out. Appreciate what we already have. We forget to do this every day. We have so much, but all we do is pray for more. Some people, they don't even pray, but all we want is, but I want this, but I want that. Take 1 second, take 1 minute in your day and reflect on the things you've been through, everything that you go through and where you are now. People don't do that. All you need to do is appreciate what you have. And when you appreciate what you have, I know it's a cliche and everyone says it, but you have to believe it. When you appreciate what you have,
cliche, right?
you
but
allow...
how many people, it is a cliche, but how many people actually spend more time on gratitude and introspection than they do pursuing and desiring new stuff, right? Everyone laughs, old knowledge, right? I have that in the bag. Oh, you do?
No, you don't. You're not even living by it.
Right. How much time did you spend in gratitude today?
Nothing.
Reflecting and being thankful.
Exactly. It's because gratitude allows you to get more. If you keep on asking for more, it's like people. I like how people constantly pray. Oh, well, I'm not feeling well, God, or I don't have this, I don't have that. You know what? God says, oh, you really don't? That's interesting. You don't. Taka, you don't. It's a certain way of when you appreciate and you say, I have this and I have that and I have such good things. Then you can allow yourself to get more. Then you can allow, there is no blockage. You don't push anything away from you. You start, this is by Jews. This is by us when we pray. Think about everything you say by davening. You say, first you thank Hashem. You say, Borech Atu, whatever. And you praise him. And then you say, thank you for this and thank you for that.
Gratitude is huge. In the Jewish world especially, there's like the Garden of Gratitude from Shalom Arush, entire book focused on. Gratitude is out of this world. One of the top things. It's also one of the reasons why when we do personal prayer, you start with gratitude.
Also,
gratitude
really what it really is it makes you appreciate. When you appreciate, you realize what you have, you feel good. When you feel good, either you don't need other things,
or you function better and you can achieve them.
Or exactly. So now you know exactly what you want because you feel good. So when you feel good, you're allowing these things to come. Cliche or not, say whatever you want. Try it out. Try it the fuck out and come back.
Y'all need more Jesus in your life.
Y'all need more Jesus.
So at this point, the only thing me and you are missing is a church, so we could just start preaching. I'm not trying to motivate you, but listen to this.
But go to the church and do the choirs. Yes, and that's it. But you know what? But they do gratitude. They do gratitude. People that go to the churches. And that's it.